What happens if we dare to tear off the mask of professionalism and actually risk showing up for real? I'm your host, Miriam Happness, and this is Unprofessionalism.
So there was some critics, I wouldn't say critics, but they would say, hey, this is weak behavior. So why don't you just go and get over and do the real important things that drive the numbers and profit and so on? Why don't you go back into the business? Why are you taking care of the people? He didn't say it in person into my face, but I heard it background, hey, this is wimpy. This is soft and so on. He was a hunter and a rifleman and so a redneck. So therefore, maybe that is part of the story to it. But for me, my answer to the whole thing was 2 years later when the company was acquired. And I knew that as a CFO of the acquired company, the moment the deal is out, you know that your days are limited.
Martin, welcome to the show, Unprofessionalism.
Miriam, hello. Great to see you again.
Yes. I will jump right in, always starting with the same question. Can you recall a moment when action was unprofessional and turned out to be the best thing that you could have done?
I think it's most in my career and my finance career. When I had 18 years in the corporate world, and I was in one of my last roles, I was the European CFO. And in that role, I had been given a rather emotionally challenging task. It was to restructure the European organization, and the outcome of the analysis was to close down a site with 25 people. And part of this group was my own team that I had to inform about the closure. And there was two elements to it. There was this, how do I do this professionally?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is more on the area of how do I do this as a human being? How do I be present to the people? And I recall that there was the element where it was just about getting the thing done. Action. Process.
Get it behind you. Mm-hmm.
Get it behind me, making sure it's part of the legally agreed path and get there. And so the moment we got there to tell them, everybody knew.
Mm.
Emotionally, they knew why are they coming without telling. So it was coming to the place where four of us from the different group leaders, and we got there, and then we just ran through the course how it was done. Very action done oriented. So that was the professional part to it. And then there's the human part to it.
Mm.
And over the course, it took about a good year to make this whole transition. And I made sure that I had a conversation with everyone in the office, because I was there frequently, and I took time to listen to each one of them. Only not from the business, my role as CFO, but just as a human being, to hear their concerns, their human side to it.
Yeah.
And there were a few say, hardship situations to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that made it really challenging in the sense that hindsight, there was even one person that I had let go that shortly after was diagnosed with terminal illness. Yeah. And so there's these elements. Hey, I did the right thing from the company. I was the leader in the company. I had to do this. But there's also the human side.
Yeah.
And for me, the hindsight, the moment where I felt that, hey, I did the best I could do, was when the last time I visited them, just before we closed the office, we had a farewell party dinner, and someone, like after the second beer, came over and said, I would like to thank you for the way how you handled this. And I think this was, in some way, it was unprofessional, It wasn't the original professionalism plan, though I stayed true to my human being. And that's a story that I can. And maybe it wasn't even unprofessional, but I've seen the professional side being very cold, very unemotional, staying to the legal frame. And I allowed myself to go to the human level, to the emotional, and to see on the other side, not the employee, but also the human being.
Yeah. And I can see how staying to the professional level, air quotes, helps one to make it more bearable. Or it's not my fault. It wasn't my decision. I'm just executing. And all these excuses maybe might make it apparently easier. But from what I hear from you, it doesn't, because somehow you felt the calling to connect on a more human level.
Yeah. And if I look back, this was probably one of the hardest thing in my former role in the corporate world was, hey, there's other areas that are difficult, challenging, hard, though emotionally this was the thing that I was least prepared for. So,
and fast forward, you're now an executive coach and you're helping business leaders, CEOs, CFOs to do the hard things, to do them right. What would be, with the experience and the knowledge you have now, what would you recommend them if they were in the same situation?
I think that's where I'd like to take them is to feel the emotion that is below it. And I think as a coach for executives, my key role is to slow them down. So there's a possibility to reconnect with the body, with the emotion, with the feeling. Many executives and also entrepreneurs got there because they ran. They were always running, which comes at the price of not really feeling the emotions. Oh, this is a challenging situation right now. It's important. I'm going to do the next thing. So they put another thing to it. They don't go for the moment to feel and allow themselves to really feel what is below it.
What helped you back then? Sorry to.
Yeah, and let's. I think that it's important to combine. I had a group coaching environment where I was able to share my tension. There's a fear. There was also an overwhelm, and the key benefit for me in that group was it was a family constellation group where I could really what is the emotion that I'm. Can I look in my own mirror and say, hey, yeah, it was a tough situation, and I would do it again in the same way. Or is there something that I would do differently? And for me, it was important that afterwards, I allowed myself to have these individual conversation with the humans. But it takes time, and most people have other urgent things, so they don't take the time to feel. And so today, when there's important changes to be made, I call them kill my darlings. And maybe in this case, it's not a real appropriate phrase. But kill my darling is usually something to let go where I'm really attached to. And sometimes it's also about being emotionally attached to. And very, very often there is a story in the history, in the childhood or in the family that triggers. So there's an emotion that triggers. And allowing my clients to go back to that original emotion and feel the original emotion, what they first time decided not to feel. And then, okay, if now, hindsight, what is the feeling that actually wants to be felt? And very, very often that triggers a handkerchief moment. That lets the emotion flow. There's tears coming, there's emotions coming, and there's emotions that haven't been felt for sometimes 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And this is where I think the magic happens. Because sometimes there is this old experience that was just tucked away,
Mhm.
which is also the key driver why they don't feel in the future as executives.
Mm. So in order not to reconnect to the wound, to the past pain, they avoid the situations and stick to the so-called professional script.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With the consequence that energetically, they usually cut off their heart, their emotions. So they almost like have a protection layer, which makes them feel distant, emotionally cold, sometimes arrogant, or sometimes unreadable.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing the other layer. And to bring the both perspectives in, the you back then and the you now, with your experiences in both times. And there are two curiosities that come up for me. One is, what are the reactions from the other colleagues? So what are that you're shifting your as a CFO back then, shifting your priorities to take care of the people who are, the moment you're taking care of them, actually no longer part of the company. So it's no longer an investment in the company. It's really a purely human act. So what is the judgment or the reactions of the others who might observe that?
Oh, that's a good question. So I know from one of my the other project partners, also leadership level, wasn't my direct boss, but higher in the hierarchy. He didn't tell me personally, but I heard it through the background, was that, hey, this is weak behavior.
Weak.
Yeah. So and for me, that I said, okay, yeah, I might have been a weak behavior. For me, it was in some way so there was some criticism. I would say critics, but they would say, hey, this is weak behavior. So why don't you just go get over and do the real important things that drive the numbers and profit and so on? Why don't you go back into the business? Why are you taking care of the people? He didn't say it in person into my face, but I heard it background. Hey, this is wimpy. This is soft and so on. Huh? He was background. He was a hunter and a rifleman, and so a redneck. So therefore, maybe that is part of the story to it. For me, my answer to the whole thing was 2 years later, when the company was acquired, and we were being acquired, and I knew that as a CFO of the acquired company, the moment the deal is out, you know that your days are limited, you're numbered. And so in some way, I see it as destiny was gentle, or gave me a nice return, because the way I was treated in the whole process while being made redundant, it was done professional, and on a human emotional, we had a clear agreement. So I could walk out straight face after 1 year into about a 1 year integration phase, could leave in good note, in good energy, no harm. I was dealt professionally, fair, had a good redundancy package, and it gave me the freedom to walk my Camino de Santiago. So looking backwards, I say, hey, better that I did a good way of departing from the team that I had to let go, because in some way it came back to me. And at least that's the way I took it. I was prepared. And therefore, I think I had the gift of walking the Camino without remorse.
Beautiful. And before we go into that, I would be curious to hear a little bit more specific, because you said it was professional and human. So what happened for you to say, what does it mean to be professional? And I assume, and what I hear is professional in the best of all meanings. And what does it mean human? What did they do well that made you leave with a sense of dignity, maybe?
So I think professional in a corporate setting is very much linked to expectations. There is a certain expectation the way you behave. There's a culture to it, though that's more an expectation than an agreement. And the expectation, they vary in different companies. So sometimes it's, there's the expectation that you do it when you get a task in the evening and it's important for the next morning, you still do it. So there's no boundary, there's no off time, it's always on. And it's never, you'd never agree, okay, this is the way when I start here, this is the agreement, that's the way we work. It's more often shared through expectations, through some stories.
Yeah.
And also very often in a sense, a negative sense, people that are not behaving to the expectations are being criticized.
And that's then what is unprofessional.
And I think this is where there's a paradox, yeah?
Yeah.
If I behave like this, I am professional. If I don't behave like this, I am unprofessional. But I think in reality, it's a very blurry area, which is very unprofessional. So as a leader, as a manager, if you make clear agreements, hey, this is the results I expect from you, and I don't say, it's very clear that you don't do this. You don't check your emails at night, or you don't go into, and I don't want any answer before you get into the office. I don't want the answer while you're checking the coffee in the morning, which most people expect or think they're being expected, and they do it. But there's never an agreement on this. This is a pure area of expectation. And so this becomes a very blurry area where while you think you're a professional, in some way you're out of the profession because you've never had a clear agreement around it. And it can be energetically very draining. It can be exhausting.
Because you never know the rules of the games you are playing.
You never clarify the rules that you're playing. So you think you know, there's some kind of an expectation to it, but it's not a clarity, not a clear agreement to it.
Yeah. And then as soon as there's evaluation and bonus and all of these things linked to it, then it's a constant threat that we don't know by what we will be judged.
Well, and there's the underlying fear trigger is not being good enough.
Yeah.
So there is a not being good enough because my own fears, my own background, whatever, drives my doing more and more and more, doing. So it was never agreed.
Yeah. And then having all these expectations of what might be, or assumptions of what might be expected, and hence working more instead of asking and clarifying, because it might be judged as lazy, uninformed, unprofessional.
Yeah. Unprofessional. Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to work on the weekend. Why are you asking? Yeah.
And then this, you don't want to work on the weekend, is being attached to not being professional. I think it's a leadership mistake to not clarify, make a clear agreement to it. Hey, this is what's in the game. Yeah. And this is what's outside of the game.
So what I hear is the way how the new leadership, after they got acquired, how they confronted you with the new reality, was with clarity.
In the sense, in the first setting, when I met my counterpart, I said, you know what, we had dinner, and I said, you know what, let's sit down. Unfortunately, she passed away last year, so we sat down and had dinner. And I said, we both know that when this is all over, there's one of us will be continuing, the other one not. And we also both know it's not going to be me that is going to continue. So let me help you steer the ship in the harbor, and you help me to have a good exit here. So I give you my commitment, my agreement, that I will do what is in my power to make sure that this one gets smooth over to the other side, and then I hand over the keys.
Thank you for sharing that.
And it was a personal agreement between her and me. And I admire her for her professional skill level. She was a lot more experienced in running a bigger company and had a background in tax and Big Four. And so she honored this one. And the culture in that company was, there's no limit, in the sense of she was working in the evening and weekends. She was easily working 60, 70, 80 hours, very rigid timelines, and very data and number and driven by the machine was running, and you had to serve the machine at there, which I think made it efficient on one side, but took away a lot of creativity and wider thinking and creative thinking.
Yeah.
Very painful. It was another painful experience. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Before jumping to the present, or maybe this will be a bridge, there was I mentioned that there were two curiosities from your experience, from this anecdote you shared. And the other one was whether it's easier to have these human conversations with each of the people that you had to let go of because they were about to leave, as opposed to reach out and build human connections to maybe employees who are just going to start or who have been with the company and will stay there. So coming back to the judgment of this is weak, is it maybe still easier to do that when you know that your ways will part? And maybe not only for you, but in general terms.
You always meet twice, I think is a saying. And I have for myself, I have the principle or the intention. So next time we meet, we can still greet each other. So that helps by parting from people, and making sure that there's clarity in the emotions and the agreement and things have been created well. But it also is seeded for new connections. So when you meet new people, when we rehired the team, we took an interesting approach. When I think we made a decision to rehire the team in Munich, and we wanted to create a team that is internationally connected, open, a lot of customer service, but it's open. So we hired a lot of people that did not speak German, but they wanted to come to Germany and work in the company. So they spoke English, so very often some Eastern European country, and young, some engineers, some others well trained, and we gave them the opportunity to join us. And if they learn a basic level of German within a year, we gave them the opportunity to get not a contract at time, but it was an indeterminate contract, terminated contract. So we let go of a group that had a very traditional, close-minded thinking mindset, and we decided to invite people in that had an open connection, let's explore something together mindset. And interestingly, within this 1 year letting go of the old, that was very closed, very high, we cannot do it, we have always done it this way, it cannot be done, cannot be changed, into, I'm happy to join, happy to learn, happy to grow, happy to experience, and really create a new team that was probably some 16 different nationalities. We spoke different languages at the coffee corner, but it was from an energy. It was, we connected well. We all got together and created a fun new experiment. Between this letting go of the old, creating a new one. And then when the merger came, we were being acquired. Unfortunately, this whole team was disassembled again because they moved everything to a low-cost country.
So you could basically, if I understand you correctly, continue the human connection.
Yes. So for me, it's like how you do one thing, you do everything. And I always, looking backwards, I value the relationship of the human being. It's important for me. And then second is the business result. And in business, sometimes this is not very professional, short term. Though long term, I've seen it to be extremely valuable.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned that. Last week I interviewed Philippa White, who wrote Return on Humanity, as opposed to Return on Investment. Exactly describing that. Yeah. You mentioned the Camino. Or did I interrupt you?
Yeah.
You mentioned the Camino walk. So you got a package, the golden handshake, and basically created a white canvas for yourself.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, and I write it in my book, The Leader's Camino from Exit to Expansion, it's the moment this idea popped up was at the pizza dinner with the leadership team, and we're sitting together having a strategy meeting. Suddenly, we had the ticker notice that the company was being acquired by another American company.
You learned that from a ticker notice, not from...
Yes. That was because it was a stock listed company. You always learn it from the ticker notice because it's the way the role is being played. And so we were all the company's being acquired and so on, and everybody had different emotions with it. But for me, it was within like 2 or 3 minutes, I had this deep inner voice popping up and say, "Wow, this is the opportunity to walk the Camino de Santiago." And I was surprised by myself because it wasn't in my, if you had asked me, hey, what would you do if you had, let's say, 3 months of time? I don't think I would have told you that I would walk the Camino de Santiago. Though when this opportunity came, knocked on my door and said, oh, this means in a year or two from now, I will change roles, change my company. This opens a window of opportunity. And I want to walk this Camino de Santiago. And when I got home that evening to my wife, I remember telling her that, you know what, you're being acquired, and this gives me the opportunity to walk the Camino. And she was rather surprised and puzzled because I had never spoken about this openly. And I'd read some books, and it was something in my meditation practice, and I knew a few people that had written about it, spoken about it, and read books. So the seeds were planted. Though it took this special external trigger to step into this abracadabra, I'm going to walk this Camino de Santiago.
It reminds me of a moment and this kind of intuition, this deeper knowledge that we sometimes carry without knowing. It reminds me of a moment when I was still employed at the university, and my partner back then asked me, what would you do if you were not afraid? And I surprised myself saying I would quit my job. And before that, I haven't even thought about that. And 3 months later, I quit my job. So it feels like it's also this trigger moment, something that allows you to listen to your intuition, and suddenly you can see it so clearly.
And in our context of professionalism, unprofessional, this is absolutely unprofessional.
Tell me more.
Well, yeah, my job ending, I had I had some money. I mean, they gave me a good redundancy package, but I have 3 children. They were still in school, going to university. So now daddy is taking a sabbatical, an outside. Yep. I would have been the last one that people would have attributed to, I didn't take any family time when my children were born, other than, let's say, some time. And suddenly he decides, he's going to be away for a month or two.
Yeah.
And nobody at that time, it wasn't clear yet. So everybody would expect from outside that I would hire on again as a controller, CFO, financial leader in some other role. I mean, a finance role, you can change industries. It's not so difficult. But for me, this Camino was, I didn't share anything about what I was going to do afterwards, other the regular things. For me, the thing was that when I walked the Camino, I took this question on my path. So how am I going to spend the next chapter of my life? And I have a journal. I started it with, I wrote it on it, and I checked in every day. And sometimes I left some ideas and thoughts about what I was going to do. And the way I describe it, I exited from this hustling, fast-paced corporate world and allowed myself the inner rhythm time to walk at my pace, find my speed, find my own rhythm, find my own pace. And walking in this own pace, first few weeks, days is about the body adjusting.
Mm-hmm.
With walking, so you have some pain. I didn't have blisters, but some people get blisters. But it's about the pain, the muscle pain, the rhythm, and losing some weight, and so it's a change. The body needs to adjust to this new pattern of walking every day for 8 or 10 hours.
Yeah.
So it slows down the thinking. This thinking was, and you have done Vipassana. So after a few days, not having constant new emails coming in that drive the machine, you suddenly go into areas of the thoughts where you haven't gone for a while, or they ebb up and they slow down, and you meet people with different experiences. So like 2-3 weeks into the Camino, I was losing time. If you ask me what days of the week is this, I wouldn't know. I needed to check. Or what time is it on the day? The sun got up maybe 2 or 3 hours ago. I had my phone, so I could check the time. But in principle, while my calendar before was 9 o'clock this meeting, 10 o'clock this meeting, 11 this meeting, then there is a lunch break. A good calendar was back to back to back to back, no empty spaces. That was my good calendar.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I was there without a calendar. There was almost like a craving. Okay, what's to be done? Yeah. So I needed to unwind this craving of having a full calendar.
Yeah. And you never went back to the corporate world?
I never went back to the corporate world, because while I was on this Camino, I had these conversations and said, hey, if not yet now, if I don't try this business coaching thing, consulting now, when? And so when I got to the end of the Camino at Finisterre, you end a lighthouse, and then there's the ocean, and you have to turn back. So I was very, very visceral. And my body told me with every fiber, I'm not going to go back into the corporate world. I leave that behind, and I go for the courageous jump to become a business coach.
Mm.
I did have my 2 years cash reserve if I was frugal and things. So therefore, I had some testing, exploration time, sabbatical exploration time. So exit, then explore how this could look like. And I decided, okay, let's give it a shot. I took a professional training on how to become a business coach, tried to get certified, failed the first exam because I wasn't professional enough.
Congratulations.
Hindsight of this group that took the class back then, I'm the only one that does it for a living.
And there are very few coaches who can live from who can have a good living.
Yes, I mean, some others still use it. Yeah, I mean, some have combined though I do only one-on-one coaching, and I earn the same that I used to earn in my former role as a CFO.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And what is
And
yes.
And I here again, in the sense of professional and unprofessional, I explored a lot of things that are considered professional. The way you should do this. So of getting up to the first mountain. This is how you get to the first mountain. You do this, you do that, you certify, you get a certificate, and you then, which if I really slow it down, my clients came to me because they connect with me on a human to human level. And you have experienced it. And it's about being in the team, being on your side, being a trusted guide. Sometimes it does help to pull out my CFO hat and my experience from the past, though the real element is, there's someone at my side, which allows me to then explore, expand, play, and experience.
Yeah. And I wonder, from what you say, how the professional certification programs might then limit you. So you have failed the exam, as you said, and maybe because of that, and I'm making assumptions, learned to integrate your own learnings, your own experience, your own way of doing, instead of being caught in this, I have to do it this way because that's what I learned and that's what I've been certified on. So now I have to comply with that.
Yes. And I think the real paradox here is I needed to take this professional course in order to sharpen my tools. So, but imagine you have a toolbox and you want to do something and you have a toolbox and you know all the manual screwdriver. So you learn how to make driver screw. So today, where I am today, I rather take the power drill driver. So you can only do that when you have mastered the craft with the single tools.
And you understand the mechanics behind it. Yeah.
And you understand the mechanics behind it. And you understand the limitations behind it. And so I think this is why there is an element, there is a craft element to the business coaching side. There's methods, tools, and good processes and clarification, agreements, and so on. And there is an art. Art comes from heart. There's a human, emotional heart element to it, which makes it an art. And so I think while in the beginning, it's good to have a teacher, a trainer, a certification course. Hey, I know the basics. Though the next phase is really an apprentice phase where it's about learning from a master, someone who has many, many years of experience. Because that next phase, the apprentice phase, is really about finding your own path, finding your own style, finding your own voice. And it's probably a 99 against you and 1 for you. So in some way, you will find a lot of people that you're absolutely not the right fit for. And there's maybe the 1 or the 5, the handful. Hey, yeah, there's a good fit. And the fit is usually on the human level. The story, the trust, I trust you level.
And it's, because on the formal level, on the professional level, you're competing with a million other people who can show all the same degrees and all the same kind of check boxes of experience. But then the stories, the lived experience, the unprofessional side of things. That's what makes it unique.
Yes. And in my case, very often I observe, I have like CFOs or founders and so on. They're used to running big organizations. Like I have a CFO of an 800 million euro company. I have some others who make really big, shift big things. So from a professional perspective, they could pick someone who has other experiences. But when they come here, usually I can choose whether you want to coach in the office online. Sometimes some coach online, but want to coach in the office, or what I love to do, walk outside. So when they ring the door, when they have an in-person coaching session, I open the door and I give them a hug and I look at their shoes. Why do I look at their shoes? Because they will tell me if they have office shoes, okay, well, then we sit down in the office. If they have running shoes or walking shoes, I see you're equipped for having a walk. Oh, yeah, I love to have a walk. So I take them for a 2 or 3 hour walk in the nature as our business meeting. Totally unusual. And they love it because it gives them the opportunity to be out of their normal setting, to think openly, to speak out what they want to sort. And then sometimes we even use nature. What would this tree give you advice here that stands there for 80 or 100 years? Your challenge that you have to face from a tree's perspective, what's the tree's advice? Yeah. And thereby they are sorted. And when they leave, they say, you know what? Yeah. And now I'm back aligned. I'm in tune. I'm in alignment to my inner wisdom. And now I can take it out again into my business world and make decisions in the business world that come from an inner alignment.
What I hear is basically opening the door to the opportunity to learn from things that are, outside the usual, a little bit off-road, literally.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, and I trust that everyone already has the answer inside. The tutor is inside. And the tutor inside is the intuition. So it's about tapping into the intuition. And the access to intuition in a high business running world is difficult. It requires slowing down, meditation, or finding time in nature, letting this inner voice percolate or come through and emerge, and then express through the intuition.
Yeah.
And very, very often there is interesting, good things to do, recommended good consultant things to do, which would get you a 2x result. But there's one thing, your inner truth, your intuition, if you implement that, that's a 10x result.
And then I wonder whether the 2 to 3 hour walks with you, showing your clients or allowing them to listen to their intuition, if they would block 2 to 3 hours for an intuition walk, as opposed to 2 to 3 hours with their business coach, one is perfectly, air quote, considered normal, professional, that's what you do. Whereas 2 to 3 hours walking in nature to find yourself to slow down, to listen to your intuition is like, can you do that?
I think the greatest fruit is if you combine both. Because if people that have not experienced how to tap into their intuition just go out in nature, will get the radio station chatter again for the next 3 hours.
Monkey mind.
The monkey mind, the fears, I'm not good enough, I cannot do this, and the inner saboteurs have a loud voice. So if you're going on a walk from the state of inner chatter, inner scarcity mindset, fear and the 4 F's, so the fear, the fight, the freeze, the fawn, and you come from that anxiety energy and go for a 3 hour walk, very likely you will have a 3 hour radio station all on fear, flight, and self-judgment.
Yep.
Though if you do this with a coach or someone who holds the space and intentionally goes for the sage energy, for the wisdom energy, what's the lesson learned, and what is the chance to really grow and evolve and become from an abundant energy, very, very likely you will stay in a 3 hour abundant mindset.
That you then take home.
And if you have trained that, and then you go for your intuition walk and you step into an abundance mindset, into your intuition walk, then you harvest the fruit.
Cannot believe that our hour has evaporated. So let me close with my general closing question. What is one unprofessional action or thing that you would still recommend other people to do?
What is an unprofessional recommendation to do? My advice is to light a candle in the morning, which creates an hour of stillness. So getting up earlier than your normal time so that there is half an hour, maybe even an hour, quiet time for yourself. And it's not about doing anything there. It's about being in presence with yourself. I use the meditation app Insight Timer so that I get at least a 5-minute meditation start. It's a tracker, so I can track, I think 687 days was this morning, of uninterrupted everyday meditation time. At least a few years ago, this was considered very unprofessional, only for the woo-woos, only for the esoterics. I think more and more it has become professional, because if you see who is meditating, and my easiest way to integrate into my day is getting up early before everything starts running into Chronos time, and have a place where I can have my quiet time, my Kairos time, my presence time.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you for hosting.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
a cool reflection on unprofessionalism.
Yeah. And yeah, for linking your two lives together. I will add the link to find your book and your profile in the show notes.
Yes. And for the book, there's also a German version that I spoke into, and the English version is in production. So at some point, there will also be the English book in as an Audible or as a YouTube read. For people that love podcasts, they can then podcast my book.
Wonderful.
This was a conversation without the script. Now it's your turn. I'm Miriam Hatmas, and this has been Unprofessionalism.